Hello, spooky crew. Our tote bag drawing is officially closed, and we just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who entered. We are so grateful for the love and the support, and we have loved reading your reviews. Missed the tote? No worries. We're still sending out high-quality vinyl stickers while supplies last. Just email us proof of your rating and review along with your mailing address to thespookydarlings@gmail.com, and we'll get one headed your way. Quick promise, your address is only for mailing the sticker. No emails, no selling info, no funny business, just spooky gratitude. Thanks again for supporting the show. You are the reason we do this.
You are listening to The Spooky Darlings, where three sisters tell you all of their favorite kinds of stories, whether it's fascinating or spooky or creepy or exciting, just whatever. And I'm Emily.
I'm Nettie.
I'm Haley.
And today Nettie's going to share a story with us. And I don't think we really have any idea what you're going to tell us. So
No.
Take it away, Nettie.
No, I don't think you have any idea. Although I think you probably know it's Chicago related because I just got back from a trip to Chicago with my daughter. And I had originally planned on a different topic. But then as I spent time in Chicago and did research on Chicago, I was like, I've got to do something Chicago related. And it turns out that just like the walk Lorelai and I did ourselves, that I encountered so many Chicago paranormal hotspots. So my initial plan was I was just going to do haunted Chicago. And I was going to tell you briefly about all of these different haunted places in Chicago. But there are so many. There are so many haunted places and haunted landmarks and haunted hotels and just stories. I mean, like the mob. It's like so many crazy things have happened in Chicago. H.H. Holmes.
I was so focused on your ghost Chicago, I forgot about crime Chicago.
Oh, crime. And, so many of them are intertwined. And today I'm going to tell you a story that intertwines the paranormal and crime and one haunted hotel.
Gosh, I can't wait.
I'm so excited. So, Chicago. Chicago has a reputation for ghost stories and haunted locations. It's just known as a paranormal hotspot, a place that's rich with ghostly activity, and it's known to be one of the most haunted cities in the USA. And why is this? Anyone know?
It's older. Oh wait, no, there was also giant fires, so lots of ghosts.
Ooh, yes, giant fire. Lots of deaths in the fire. Lots of tragic events have happened in Chicago.
Well, and by older, I also mean older in the US.
Yes. Yes, one of the older cities in the US. Uh-huh. Any thoughts, Emily?
I don't have a guess. I'm just kind of like wondering where you're going with it. I'm excited to see.
I know, me too. We're going to find out. I'm about to find out too. Well, in addition to its location, it's right on Lake Michigan, which creates very spooky atmospheric conditions. And I have some photos that I took myself that shows how spooky and atmospheric Chicago is. It was foggy. Well, we got there with great weather on Tuesday night. We had one evening of great weather. And then all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, it was rainy and super foggy. Like we really, really wanted to do this. I think they call it the View Tower or the 360 View Tower. I can't quite remember what it was called. It's 1 block away from the Drake Hotel where Lorelai and I stayed. And you're supposed to be able to go to the top, take an elevator, and do like this 360 view thing where it's almost like the Seattle skyscraper where you're kind of leaning against the glass and it spins. And it's a little bit terrifying. But it was foggy the entire time we were there. It was like the top of the building was encompassed in a cloud. So it wasn't worth it. So I was really bummed.
I'm pretty sure they tell you specifically not to lean against the glass on all of those.
Hey, I saw photos.
Viewing places.
I saw photos of people leaning against the glass.
Shouldn't do it.
Just causes some extra cleaning.
I haven't been there. I just going by the photos I saw, and it's supposed to be spooky.
Well, I just don't think they want anyone's sticky handprints.
Yeah, you guys might be right. And you'd be very good employees for that business because you both stand on business. Also, okay, so in addition to that, it is the home of many major historical events and disasters that have accumulated over time to shape Chicago's haunted reputation. Some events are steeped in truth, based on verifiable accounts of real events. Some are harder to prove. Are they remnants of true stories? Are they tales of truth that have been passed down from generation to generation with slight changes being made, but it's hard to verify the original story because you can't find it anywhere? Or is it urban legend? Are they stories that have been made up?
I don't know.
Well, you're about to find out. I mean, actually, no, it's a mystery. But one thing is for sure is the Great Fire of 1871 actually took records. Like all of the historical records of Chicago were burnt. So the first historical records we have of Chicago were, other than things that were printed in other papers, were from letters that survivors had written back to their family and loved ones that explained the events and what was happening. So a lot of like the original records of Chicago are just gone. So we're going to explore. The first thing I'm going to tell you is briefly about the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. Now, do you guys remember learning about this at all?
Barely.
Yeah, very vaguely.
It was said originally, and kind of like there was like a nursery rhyme about it, or like a jump rope rhyme that kids would tell, that this fire was started by a cow kicking over a lantern, which then just whoosh, caught everything on fire because the entire city was made of wood. The streets were even paved in wood. Fire escapes were made of wood. Everything was made of wood.
Is this cow wrongly accused?
It appears as though the cow was wrongly accused, although I don't know why they came to that conclusion, but recently, like investigations, they have found that it most likely started by something else, but I don't know how really that they came to this conclusion.
That poor cow.
I know, poor cow. So one of the very first things that our taxi driver that took us from the Amtrak station to our hotel, one of the first things that he pointed out to us were the Chicago water towers. He pointed them out like I should know what they were because I really didn't. He was like, "Look, do you see? There they are. There's the Chicago water towers." And wow. He's like, "Those were the only thing left standing after the Great Fire." And that's when I was like, "Oh, that's right. I've heard of this. The Great Fire of the Great Chicago Fire that happened like in the late 1800s." And he was like, "Those were the only two things left standing. Everything else burned, and those were the remnants. And these are gorgeous. We will put pictures on our socials, but they look like a castle. It looks like a medieval castle. It was this beautiful water tower designed with like turrets and towers with it just looks like a castle. It's gorgeous and beautiful. And it's a stone building, which is part of the reason why the building survived. And it was built in 1869. It was built only 2 years before the Chicago Fire. And it was built with limestone. Just keep that in mind. Okay. The purpose of the water tower was to pump water from Lake Michigan, and this was to help fight fires. It was to feed the water pumps of the fire station, and it was also to provide water to the people of Chicago. So when the fire started, cause unknown, possibly a cow, it burned from October 8th to October 10th. Like anywhere from 36 to 48 hours.
Wow.
And its destruction was roughly 3.5 square miles. It was basically all of Chicago that had been sort of built up to that point was burnt. There were, surprisingly, this seemed like a low number to me, but just guess how many deaths. Make a guess. Let's see.
300.
Emily?
Oh, I was going to say 5,000.
Wait, no, all of Chicago?
12,000.
It was 300. Are you psychic? It was 300. There were only 300 deaths. And I think that because
you gave me the clue of surprisingly low.
Surprisingly low. Yeah, I was surprised that it was only 300, but I think because it took 2 days for it to burn that 3.5 miles. I think people had plenty of time to evacuate. And 300 is a lot of people. It's too many people, but still, I think that I was expecting it, like in a lot of disasters, like earthquakes or tsunamis, where people don't have time to escape. There are a lot more deaths.
Stop me if you're getting to this. If I remember correctly, I think most of the people who did die in this fire were trapped in buildings with like poor exit strategies.
I think you're probably right, and I'm not getting to that.
Okay.
But I did do research on a different story that I'm actually not going to cover today, where basically at a different time, different event, but in Chicago, where so many people died because of poor exit markings
Yeah.
and exit strategies. And it was one of the reasons why fire exits are always lit now and why exits always have to be,
It has
like
to be
Chicago
fire.
passed laws that the exits had to be visible.
Yeah.
Because of the, well, I might get to this event. I was going to kind of gauge how long it took. I might get to that event. But yep, 300 deaths. It caused about 100,000 residents to become homeless, about 1/3 of the population of Chicago at that time. So there were about 300,000 residents in Chicago when the fire started. 100,000 were left without any place to live. 17 to 18,000 buildings were destroyed. $200 million in damages.
Wow.
But okay, so the water towers were the only thing left standing. And when you see them, like the Chicagoans think of it as a symbol of Chicago's resilience and of its ability to rebuild after the fire, because they did rebuild one of the most beautiful cities. It is a stunning city. I like it more than any city. I think it's my favorite city I've ever been to. I thought it was fantastic. And it was interesting because on the train, you meet a lot of people. Like when you're on a train, we talked to so many people that were like, oh, you're getting off in Chicago. Be careful. And one man who thought we were transferring trains and getting on another train, he's like, now I want to warn you, don't leave the station. It's dangerous. Chicago's dangerous. Lola and I were like, oh my gosh, did we make a mistake? Like, what's happening? I did not feel unsafe once. I mean, we had our wits about us. Like, you're walking in a big city. Of course, there's crime. But it was beautiful. It was just people were nice. All of our taxi drivers and Uber drivers were so helpful and kind. Every service person we encountered was wonderful. And then, of course, I was in like a nice part of the tourist district, but I would go back with my family comfortably.
Yeah. If I'm recalling this correctly, I think Chicago was the inspiration for Gotham City.
It might have been.
I think in the Batman comics. And for those who don't read comics. I don't.
Like me. For all three of us.
Yeah.
So in addition to it being like, that reminder of the resilience and rebuilding, it is also a monument to a terrible disaster. And it's one of the most famous historic landmarks in the city. Now, there is a legend that is based in truth. Actually, like everyone says this actually happened. They don't know the details. They don't have the name of the person. But according to legend, a watchman... There's two different versions of the story. I like the second version better. And the second version is actually the one I read more often when I was doing the research. But a watchman was blamed for abandoning his post during the fire, and then he felt guilty and hanged himself inside the tower. However, that didn't make sense to me because the tower was his post. So I liked the other version. This is the one I prefer. But the water tower, which is the pumping station, he stayed there at his post. His job was to continue the water pumping and to watch and see how the fire was progressing. So there's two towers across the street from each other, and Chicago amazingly has these super wide streets. They're just so spacious. All the streets, I was just like, this is so impressive how much space they've given in these streets just for traffic and cars, because it's an old city. It was built up a long time ago when people were still traveling by like horse and buggy. And who knows, maybe before the fire, I mean, I didn't even think about this. Maybe before the fire, they were narrower. And maybe after the fire, they were like, let's make the streets wider. I just don't know. But beautiful wide streets.
Maybe they were like, we can do whatever we want.
Maybe. But so the two water towers are across the street from each other. And so one fireman was in one tower, and then this other man was in the other, the watchman. And they were taking sails, getting them wet from the water pump, like from the Lake Michigan water from the pump, and then hauling them up the stairs and then putting them out windows and trying to drape the building in these like sopping saturated cloths to protect them. And then the bottom of the buildings, they were surrounding with wool, wetted down like wool batting to protect the tower. The fireman was able to kind of get his covered and make an escape as the fire approached, but the watchman had to keep pumping. He had to keep pumping the water so that the fire company still had access. So he had to stay in the tower, and he was still taking the sails up and down, doing everything he could. And when it came time for him to make his escape, it was too late. He could not get out. And even though the building didn't burn down, the fire still was coming up, like with the heat up the tower, and he realized he was going to be killed either by flames or by heat, so he ended up hanging himself from the tower to avoid being killed by the fire.
Oh, no.
And they say that the hanging really happened. They're not exactly sure who it was, but there was a watchman who was a German immigrant who was kind of credited with keeping the pumps going. It might be the same guy, and I don't remember his name, but that's possible. So he committed suicide. Like, he took his own life, but it was almost like because he was choosing his way to die when he knew he was going to die, either by flames or he could kind of take it into his own hands and make it quicker and what he deemed less painful and in his control.
Yeah.
But about 4 years later, in 1875, another man, also a German immigrant named Frederick Kaiser, had a history of mental illness. He had spent time in an asylum. He had been battling depression for years and, according to his family, was experiencing religious mania. His family thought he was getting better, and he had gotten a job like as a bookkeeper and was doing really well, and they were all kind of like hopeful. And apparently he had a mental breakdown at work, but no one told his family. And his father said they had lunch the next day, but his father felt super worried as he left. Frederick left to go on a walk, and his father said he felt like super just concerned about him. And Frederick walked down to the water tower, waited until some watchmen left, and caught the door. And there were other people who saw him, and they didn't think anything of it, but they saw this man sitting in one of the windows of the tower, which used to open. I don't think they open anymore. Sitting there for hours, like for a couple of hours. He just sat there and then eventually just leapt to his death.
Oh.
And killed himself. And then again, 6 years later, in 1881, another German man. So his name was Hugo von Malapert, and he was a German immigrant. He came from a wealthy German family who I believe his family still lived back in Germany, and they had sort of sent him to the United States, and he was, taking the family name over to the United States. He got a job as working in finances in Chicago, and like the outward appearance was he was doing great, but he had made some sort of devastating financial mistake and was realizing that he was going to have to pay the consequences. Like, he had made a mistake, and something had happened where there was like $200 that he realized he was going to have to pay the debt for, and he didn't know how to do it, and it was overwhelming. So he was thinking he wanted to go back to Germany. So he goes on a walk, and he goes to the water tower. He sees a friend of his who's another German immigrant.
Just quick clarification. This is all the same tower?
All the same tower. Yeah.
Okay.
All the same tower right in Chicago. Same
Okay.
water tower. He sees a German immigrant who's a friend of his named Victor Gengelein. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong. And Victor was like a newer immigrant. And, Hugo's like, "Oh, Victor, how are you?" And Victor said, I'm really not doing very well. I've been trying to get a job. I can't get a job. It's hard. I'm really struggling. And then Hugo, in turn, to Victor, Hugo's the guy that, came from the wealthy family, said, I'm struggling too. I don't really like America. I think I'm going to go back to Germany. And Victor was like, don't go back. Like, don't give up on your American dreams. Stay here. Everything will be great. Everything will be great. Like, I'm struggling, but I know it's going to be great. I know I'm going to find a job. And so they sit there and they chat for a while. And what Victor remembers is that the conversation ended with Hugo saying, "Hey, here's a card. Here's the address to where I work, and there's going to be a job opening tomorrow. Go in tomorrow and ask about a job. I just have a feeling that there'll be an opening." And Victor was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you for this tip. Thank you for this lead." And what Victor didn't know, he went walking down the Chicago street. Hugo climbed the watchtower steps and threw himself out the window. Instead of facing the consequences of the debt and of the mistake he had made, he decided to take his own life, and he had pinned to his coat a note that said, here's my father's address in Germany, write to him and he will pay my $200 debt. And so it's just interesting because this seems to be true. It's seems to be verifiable. He was able to give a job, offer his job to a fellow German immigrant who was struggling while self-exiting. So kind of like a very tragic end, but almost like a bittersweet turn of events that this other struggling person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So sad.
just for the listeners. My jaw is on the floor. That's why you're not hearing anything. Because the story that Nettie just told is so shocking. That's so sad.
Well, it is sad. And so those deaths and there have been other deaths as well, but all of those deaths within a very short period of time surrounded the same tower, the same Chicago water tower. And here's the other interesting thing is okay, you guys remember in Galveston when we learned about the flood and then all of the deaths that happened in the flood, but then we found out that that they were killing people for not helping. Like if you were an able-bodied man and you were refusing to help clean up bodies, they would basically kill you on the spot.
Yes.
Well, a similar event happened in Chicago. And remember when I talked about records being burnt? So this is something that we only know about because people were writing to their relatives saying, hey, I survived, everything's okay, but things are crazy. They are killing people in the street. If you don't stop when a cop calls your name, you are shot or you are hung. And they found that if they would bring people, like if they actually gave them a chance to talk, they would bring them to the water tower because those were like the only standing buildings. So it was sort of the center of things. So many people were killed just during the martial law part of the Chicago fire that happened afterwards for a short period of time while they tried to kind of regain control. A bunch of people, unknown numbers of people were killed.
Golly.
Oh, geez.
During that. So they were limestone, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know anything about like paranormal investigators' theories on limestone, it's that particular stone can hold on to memory and almost play things back like a recording, like a residual haunting. Like residual hauntings are known to occur in places where there is a lot of limestone. The most haunted places on Earth are often places built of limestone. In fact, I think like very often. So since this time, like up until like still currently, shadowy figures are seen inside the tower. If you are walking at night, you can often see shadowy figures in the windows up above. If you go into the museum, there's a museum below hand, which Laura and I did not have a chance to go in, but people say there's just an immediate, heavy, eerie, sorrowful feeling. Strange lights appear at night where there shouldn't be lights. The police have been called multiple times of people saying there's someone with a rope around their neck. It looks like someone's trying to hang themselves in the tower. And the police they still go and investigate, but they've been called so many times to this tower to go search and have found nothing that they just go expecting that they're not going to find anyone.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yes, it's kind of crazy. There's unexplained eerie feelings just felt by people. And
They probably always send a rookie cop at this point.
Well, and it's funny because Lorelai and I did a little photo shoot right in front of the water tower, but it was before I did all this research. Like I knew it was the building that had survived, but I didn't realize it was so steeped. Steeped. I didn't realize it was ripe with I didn't realize it was so steeped in like paranormal. I didn't realize it. It was so steeped in paranormal activity.
Have you combed your photos for the shadowy figure in the background?
I did. And I shall show you now that I did not see a shadowy figure. But, sometimes you got to look twice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a second eye. Also, we went to the Chicago Bean. Have you guys heard of the Chicago Bean?
Oh, yeah.
It is so insane. We were like, where is it? We could not find it. Haley, watch this video and tell me, like, click on that, the one that says 8 seconds.
Oh, you sent this to us.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
You cannot see it.
No. But you can tell it's there because of the reflection. Like,
yes,
that's part of the art installment, right?
It was really cool. The Chicago Bean was super cool. But okay, I'll show you the Chicago.
You just walking around the Chicago Bean, like, where could it possibly be?
And it was really fun to like walk up to it. Okay, here is the water tower. So that is, I think we just got the east side of the tower.
Okay.
Pictures of the east side of the tower. So there's that, and that's where people have seen
the shadowy
figures. And then if you scroll over, you'll see a couple more pictures of it.
Emily, I'll just send them to you. Oh my gosh, you and your daughter are so beautiful.
Thank you. It was so much fun being with her. It was just so fun doing something so just us. So we will put those pictures. I'll see if I can find like some really good pictures online of the Chicago Tower, but we'll include at least one picture of my daughter.
Shadowy figure.
And you found one?
Just kidding.
Oh, darn it. You got my hopes up.
Emily didn't even react.
You sneaky girl.
So, that was the tale of the haunted water tower of Chicago.
Nettie, that was really,
Thank
really
you.
cool.
Well, just a couple blocks north of this haunted tower is the Drake Hotel, which happened to be where Lorelai and I stayed on our trip. And I knew when I booked it that it had a haunted history. There is a reportedly far more haunted hotel in Chicago that I almost booked us at, and it just was running out of rooms. It was like almost full, so I chose the Drake. Also,
So you stayed at the Drake. What's this super haunted hotel that you almost stayed at?
Congress is the hotel of the 12,000 ghosts, which I was going to talk about today, but there's enough with the Drake. So I will talk about the Congress another time because it is pretty crazy. But we stayed at the Drake. It is gorgeous. I mean, you walk in, it's the decor is considered like new Italian Renaissance decor, but it definitely has like Art Deco themes. Like it feels like you're walking into Great Gatsby. Like that's how I felt. And what's interesting is that it actually opened in the year 1920. And when I read that, I actually felt like the decor, the grandeur of it all, it almost seemed to like usher in the Roaring Twenties in Chicago. So it is known for hosting celebrities, politicians, and royalty. It was built by architect Benjamin Howard Marshall, and he's famous for many Chicago landmarks, including the Blackwell Hotel, I believe it's called, which is another famous one that I think is also reportedly haunted.
Ooh.
But it was financed by John and Tracy Drake, for whom the building was named. So the official opening was New Year's Eve of 1920. And it kind of had a soft opening before this. Like people had been booking and had been visiting before this, but they had a giant party for New Year's Eve for the official opening. It was attended by over 2,000 people.
Wow.
Gigantic party. And I will get back to that party in a minute, but I want to tell you a little bit about the famous people that have visited the hotel and how I didn't know about some of this until after I left, and I'm kicking myself. So that's why we have to go back. But it's been visited by Bing Crosby, Walt Disney, George Gershwin, Charles Lindbergh. Reportedly, Princess Diana stayed there. It also was visited by newlyweds Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio, who famously carved their initials into the bar's world-famous wooden counter, and apparently it's still there, and I didn't know. And I could have gone and like taken a look at it, and I'm so bummed by it.
I cannot wait until we can go and we can go see for ourselves.
Yes, we can go actually to the bar, like get a drink there. And the interesting thing about the Drake Hotel is that it was seemingly unaffected by the 1930s market crash. It just thrived. It continued to do fine, and it has always done fine. It is now a Hilton property. So when you book the Drake Hotel, it will be under the Hilton. If you're part of Hilton Honors Program, the Drake Hotel is included in it. Oh, you guys, it was so gorgeous. It was just like grand. Oh, an interesting thing about Chicago is the use of revolving doors. And Lorelai was like, I hate this. Why? Why does every door have revolving doors? And we actually came to the conclusion is revolving doors keep out the cold.
Yeah.
Because of the way they move, there's never that wind that like comes in and that breeze that comes in.
That was my first thought.
Yes, that makes sense.
Every single building we entered had revolving doors, and they sometimes would have other doors next to it that I'm assuming they open in the summertime, and they would have signs that pointed to the revolving doors that would say, please use revolving doors.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there's a couple famous ballrooms in the Drake Hotel, both rumored to be haunted, and I'll explain more of that in a minute. But there's the Palm Court, which right when you walk in, you go up a grand staircase. It's not like very HOA friendly, although I think you can take an elevator to almost every floor. But you go up this gigantic, wide staircase that has a railing in the middle. The railing is covered in velvet, so like you put your hand on it and you're like, oh, this is so bougie.
Like,
walk
ooh,
all the way up
fancy.
to the lobby, and then to the left is this place called the Palm Court. Now, it was all like roped off, and it was like closed for a private event. It said something like that, but I'll show you a picture. It's so beautiful. That is reportedly a haunted place. Well, remind me to tell you my personal stories when I'm done telling you about the Drake and the haunting, because I didn't write it in my notes, but remind me to tell you about like Lorelai's and my experiences, and I will, but I kind of want to tell you about the like everything else first. So everything is grand, wide hallways, wide staircases. Like you can't believe the hallways just seem like twice as wide as they need to be. The elevators, everything just seems twice as big as it needs to be, which it's so lovely when you're in there because it just feels so grand. The hallways are so long that they have that shining feel where you're just looking down and it feels almost like a liminal space. They just go on forever.
When you say shining, you mean The Shining.
The Shining.
Ah.
Yeah. How's
When
the
you-
Shining feel?
When you first said I heard That Shining feel, and I was like, oh, how
That shiny
just
feeling.
everything's so lovely.
Well, it really is.
I know. I was like, is it because it's marble? Is that why it's shiny?
It's because like you feel bougie.
Lots of carpet.
But you mean spooky.
They do have a lot of marble, but it was lots of like really luxe carpet, lots of really luxe wallpaper. The wallpaper in the particular room Lorelai and I stayed in, which was room 527, it had a view of Lake Michigan. It was so nice. The wallpaper, the first thing I said to Lorelai when we walked in was, does this remind you of the story, The Yellow Wallpaper? Did you guys ever read that story?
No.
I still have not.
Yes, actually, I did.
And so then Lorelai's like, yes, that's exactly what I thought of. And so then I waited till she looked at me. First, I leaned against the wall with my head and shoulder against the wall like this. Well, you can't see me if you're not watching, which nobody is. I put my shoulder and my head against the wall and crouched, and I go, Lorelai. And then I started running along the hallway. And she was like, Mom, stop it right now. Stop it right now. You're creeping me out. Because that's what she does by the end of the Yellow Wallpaper story. You've got to read it.
I need to read this book.
It's really short. It's like a 20-minute read.
I have it. It's
so
the
good.
thing. I just haven't read it yet.
So
Okay.
creepy. And then like gorgeous window view out to Lake Michigan. It was so beautiful. It also felt not scary, but it felt creepy. And I don't even think that on the floor we were on the 5th floor, room 527. In my research, I didn't find any like reported hauntings that happened on that floor, but we did have some experiences. Should I just tell you now while I'm remembering?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just tell you now. Okay, so the first thing is Lorelai was in the shower. She was in the bathroom. She was taking a very long shower. And I was kind of laying on bed, kind of waiting for her to finish so I could go use the bathroom. And I swear I thought she was knocking on the bathroom door to come out to our room, which was weird. And I was like, Lola, do you need something? And she'd be like, no. And then she was in the shower. She would like calling to me from the shower like several times. And I would like, it happened maybe 3 times. And I looked out our door window and you can see, like we did have housekeeping stop by twice. Like I could definitely see housekeeping and I could see for a few feet. So if it was someone knocking on our door and running, they were doing it quick. It was very weird. And then, so Lorelai was taking so long in the bathroom and I really had to use the bathroom. So I finally decided to go down to the lobby and I went up to the front desk lady and I was like, hi, I'm sorry, I'm staying upstairs in 527, but I just need to use the bathroom. Do you have a lobby bathroom? My daughter's been taking a shower for about 2 hours. And the lady was like, oh, I get you. I have a daughter. I totally understand the 2-hour shower. Yes, you're going to go up these stairs. So it was into the what did I call it? The Palm Court. Yes, the Palm Court. Good job. Good memory. The Palm Court ballroom, which was roped off. And she's like, you just go up through there and you're going to make a left. And then she goes, and girl, you're going to be impressed by that bathroom. It's gorgeous. So I walk up into this gorgeous, gorgeous area that's like set for fancy dining, like just fancy tables everywhere. And I guess they do like a high tea there, I think at Christmas time, where it's like super expensive, like over $100 a plate. And it's like oysters and sunchokes and like fancy foods are served. And anyways, I walked through. I walk into the bathroom and you just feel the energy change. And I was immediately like, this place is so beautiful and so creepy. It was like just this ladies' lounge. It just felt heavy. And I didn't see anything weird. It just felt odd. So I went in, did my thing, walked back out, waved to the night clerk and went back upstairs. And then I go into the room and Lorelai was like, I thought I heard you knocking. So I unchained the door because she thought that apparently when I left, she had chained the door.
Oh my.
And then she thought I was knocking, so she unchained it. And then she had texted me, Mom, text me when you get here and I'll unchain the door. And then when I got there, I didn't see her text until afterwards. I was like, well, it was unchained. She's like, yeah, because I heard you knocking. And I was like, I did not knock. So we had that happen in our room, like just that weird knocking multiple times, both nights.
Wow.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
strange. And it was just like it wasn't like anything other than like a knock, 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 like just like a, and then you just kind of three knocks and then I'd be like, Lola, yeah, what, do you need something? Why are you in the bathroom knocking on the door to come out to the bedroom? Like that was weird.
You know, threes.
Threes? I do know.
Yeah. What is it? Demonic?
Well, yes, it could be demonic. It can be. Like that was the
Witchy.
Enfield haunting was the whole three knocks. Yeah. Although it was not, it's weird because I definitely felt a creepy and spooky, but I never felt like a negative vibe. I felt that like delightful, like that, like
delightfully
oh,
spooky.
this place feels haunted and I like it. Not like I'm scared out of my mind. I'm getting out of here vibe. Like I wanted to stay. I would move in. I would move into the Drake. It was cozy and spooky and wonderful and beautiful. I could not believe how fancy the hotel was for the price. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, why is it haunted? You ask? I'm going to tell you.
Oh, Eddie.
Haley.
Why is it haunted?
Oh, Haley, there are stories. So the Drake Hotel has had a haunted history from the night it officially opened. Because on that night where they had a giant New Year's opening party and over 2,000 guests came to the hotel for the party, the hotel was full. Every room was checked out, right? There was a couple that came, newly engaged, and they checked into the hotel, and this woman went upstairs, to her room and changed into a beautiful red gown. So this is where the woman in red or lady in red, I think it's woman in red. So this is where the woman in red legend comes into place. So she came to the New Year's Eve party, the grand opening with her fiance. She goes upstairs to use the restroom or something. She disappears for a while. And she, at some point, finds her fiance with another woman.
Bastard.
She goes to the 10th floor. There's a giant ballroom on the 10th floor called the Gold Coast Room. And that's where she spotted the two of them together. Like he thought she would be gone longer. They were actually in the ballroom together, like with other people, canoodling or whatever. She sees him with this other woman. Her hotel room also happens to be on the 10th floor. There's two versions of the story. Her hotel room is also on the 10th floor. She runs to her room, opens the window, throws herself out the window wearing her red dress. The other version is she runs out of the Gold Coast Ballroom on the 10th floor, goes up the flight of stairs to the roof, goes out on the roof, throws herself off the roof. Now, this story is not in newspapers, but it has remained in the Chicago haunted lore from the beginning. There's a lot of theories as to why it's not in newspapers. And one of them is there was so much money with this grand opening. This hotel was huge. It was big money backed by big, rich financiers. It would not be surprising at all, and it was actually totally normal for the Times to cover up stories. If they thought it would be damaging to the overhead or to the overall appeal of the hotel, they were going to bury the story. Now, if she had fallen 10 stories all the way to the ground to the street below, they could not have buried the story. But if she fell, I think it's like 4 stories into, because the way the Drake Hotel is shaped, there's parts of the 10th floor where she would fall like 4 stories up onto kind of like a landing. I don't know what the actual term is. They could have easily retrieved her body, covered it up, spent the money to make sure it wasn't reported. And then the only way the story got out was from the people that were there that helped cover it up, who told their wife, who told their sister, who told their daughter. And then the story grows and passes on. But one thing is for sure, there have been multiple reports of people seeing a woman in red in the hallways of the 10th floor running. In the ballroom, especially around the holidays, around Christmas and New Year's, in the ballroom on the 10th floor, the Gold Coast Ballroom, dancing. Also, she has been spotted in the Palm Court Ballroom in her red dress and has been seen in the powder room where I went and used the restroom in the Palm Court. And that is where this woman has been spotted.
Oh, crazy.
Do we think that she is a egregore?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I wondered, and some people have supposed this, that it's just sort of something that comes from legend. But I think that she's been seen in enough spots and for long enough that it's based in truth. And, it
Yeah.
might not be the exact story that we're told, that it's the jilted fiance throwing herself off the roof. Perhaps it's someone that was killed. Perhaps it was just a broken-hearted lady that took her own life. But I don't know. I think there's definitely a residual element to it. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
I think that makes more sense than the egregore, but
But who knows? Could be. Egregores happen. You know who we should ask? Those
Santa.
We should ask our favorite egregore Santa. We should ask those people whose names are all of a sudden I can't remember. It's not Greg and Dana Newkirk. They're the haunted objects people, but it's the other people from that paranormal show.
I know what you're talking about.
Amy Bruni and the guy that she works with. Somebody. We should ask them. I should actually see. They may have done the Drake Hotel, and they may have come to a conclusion, because I know they do their deep history research to see if they can find backgrounds for hauntings. I'd be curious
yeah.
to find that out. Now, the lady in red is not the only ghost seen in the Drake Hotel. I would say she's the most famous, but there is also often cited, usually on the 8th floor, a woman in black. So we have the woman in red and we have the woman in black.
I love a woman in black.
Now, the woman in black, I mean, there is a mystery, but this is based on true events that are well documented in the Chicago newspapers and in newspapers of the time. It is a cold case. It is a murder mystery, and I'm about to tell you about it. I'm going to tell you about the murder of Adele Bourne Williams at the Drake Hotel in the year 1944. This is a case with twists and turns, each one stranger than the last, and to this day, unsolved. So here's the background. Actually, not even a background. We're getting right to the day of the murder. January 1944. Adele Williams, a 58-year-old Chicago socialite, returned to her 8th floor apartment at the Drake Hotel with her daughter. So at this time, there were residences in the Drake Hotel. Her daughter's name, actually, I don't think I ever got her first name because she was married, was Mrs. Goodbody. I
That's
know.
a
I
great last
I wish
name.
it was my last name too. So when they arrived to her apartment, which is room 836, they noticed that the door was unlocked. And this was unusual, but they just chalked it up to they had forgotten to lock the door. So they walk inside, and inside the room, they discovered a gray-haired woman wearing a black Persian lamb coat hiding in the bathroom. Without saying a word, the woman suddenly pulled out an antique pistol and began firing. First, she shot at William's daughter, but missed. Then, she turned and fired several shots at Adele Williams. One bullet struck Williams in the head. Williams survived the initial attack, but she died later, several hours later, from the wound, but she was coherent for a few hours afterwards.
Wow.
The mysterious woman calmly left the room and was seen walking away before anyone realized what had happened. Like, both women were in such shock that they just didn't realize what happened. And Adele, before she died, would say that she thought the woman was firing blanks. She didn't actually think there were bullets in the gun at first. So, in the immediate aftermath of this crime, William's daughter, Mrs. Goodbody, ran into the hallway shouting for help. And witnesses saw a woman dressed in black with something red in her hair leaving the area. 2 men had seen the woman pass, and one later said, "I could have tripped her, but I'm not in the habit of tripping strange women." And then reports said that the daughter, Mrs. Goodbody, chased the woman down the stairwell, shouting, "Stop that crazy woman! She shot my mother!" Police quickly launched a massive search of the hotel, but the suspect disappeared into the night or day, whatever time it was. I think it was daytime, actually, when this happened.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to tell you some strange details of this case. This is where the twists begin. Twist 1, the murder weapon. Several hours after the shooting, The antique pistol used to shoot Mrs. Williams and to shoot at Mrs. Goodbody was discovered shattered in the stairwell. But police had already searched that stairwell earlier, and there was no gun in the stairwell. So this led to speculation that the weapon had been returned to the scene after the police had searched.
Shattered?
Shattered.
I didn't know you could shatter a
Think
pistol.
8 floors up. Dropping down. These stairwells are like the kind where you can look down 8 floors onto marble staircase.
Okay.
It
All right.
could. And this was an antique pistol.
Antique.
Made of porcelain. I'm just kidding. No, it was a joke.
I
was
was
made of
like,
clay.
twist.
Her son had made it for her. I'm just kidding.
For Mother's Day.
It was a Mother's Day pistol.
It was made of macaroni.
And hot glue. Okay, so twist 2. The missing key. A spare key to William's apartment had gone missing from the hotel's front desk. Later that night, at 10 p.m. to be exact, it reappeared on the desk. 2 twists. Twist 3. Just before the murder, a phone call was made from William's room to a nearby fish and ale house. Weird. They weren't
Wait.
even there.
I'm so sorry. Can you say that again?
Just before the murder, a phone call was made from Adele Williams' room 836?
Before the murder.
836, to a fish and ale house that was a couple blocks away. Now, interestingly, investigators later discovered that a similar call had been made from another room in the hotel 2 weeks earlier. So why are 2 rooms in the hotel calling a random fish and ale house at different times? And why would the person, because clearly it was the criminal, Mrs. Williams wasn't in the room when the call was made. It was before the murder. Why was the criminal making the call from Mrs. Williams' room? Those are the things. Those are the weird twists.
Because they had a craving for fish and ale.
And chips, maybe. Fish and chips and ale.
Yum.
Twist 4. Williams, Mrs. Williams, Adele, reportedly had $100,000 in cash stored in a safety deposit box, though the reason was unclear, and it was surprising to her family and loved ones that she had that amount of cash. Also, no valuables or jewelry were stolen. Nothing was stolen from the room, leaving the motive a mystery. So $100,000 in cash in a safety deposit box, but from the hotel room, nothing stolen, even though jewels were out. Like there was jewels to be had, and none were had.
Okay, so when you say you mean like at a post office, a safety deposit box. You're not talking about like
A post office, a bank.
one of those kinds of safety deposit box. You're not talking about like a hotel room safe, just to clarify.
I don't believe so, but that's a good question.
And was that money still left in her safety deposit box, or
No,
did
it
somebody
was
take
still
it?
left there, but people were like her loved ones were like, "What? Where did that money come from? We didn't know."
Why?
She
Yeah, why
had
did
it
she have
there.
that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm so baffled. There's safety deposit boxes at post offices?
No, but there are post office boxes. Which I wonder.
I was wondering if anybody would.
I was like, mind blown, like, hold the phone.
Post office, you don't know what valuables are stored there. Okay. Are you ready for the next twist? Twist number 5. One detective proposed a very controversial theory as to who committed the murder. He believed that the shooter might not have been a mysterious intruder at all. Instead, he suspected that Adele Williams' daughter may have accidentally shot her during an argument, and the story of the woman in black was invented afterwards. This theory was created, purported, came up with, like whatever,
Comeuppance.
birthed by Lieutenant Quinn, comeuppance, Lieutenant Quinn. And he was so sure that this was the case. He alleged that no call for help had been made until 10 to 15 minutes after the shooting. However, This was invalidated by other witnesses. Other witnesses that heard the shots and came to the scene said no, it was immediate. He also decided that the killing had either been an accident in the midst of a struggle after her daughter had announced her intention to kill herself, or that it had been all been pre-planned by Mrs. Goodbody and her father. Her father and mother were divorced, so Mrs. Williams, Adele Williams, was divorced from Mrs. Goodbody's father, whose name I didn't catch. Might have been Mr. Williams. I don't know.
So this detective is just deciding.
He's just kind of like, I have a theory and I'm sticking to it.
It's like, I'm the decider.
And he had some power. And he really pushed this through. So he said that he came to this conclusion within minutes of investigating the crime, because he said there could not have been a woman hiding in the bathroom because there was not enough space due to an ironing board that was folded out. But further investigations showed there was plenty of room for someone to hide.
Well,
Haley.
I was going to say it's a bathroom. Of course a woman could fit in there.
Yeah, I know. You are not wrong. Who
is this guy?
As was proven. Also, Mrs. Williams, although she did die from her wound, she was able to talk before she died. And 2 witnesses reported that even though she repeated the name Goodbody a few times, and I think that might have been where Lieutenant Quinn got it, like, she's saying the name of the killer. It's Mrs. Goodbody, her daughter. She repeated the name Goodbody a few times. She said that the shooter was a woman in black wearing a rose in her hair, and that she did not know the person. That is straight from the victim's mouth.
Like,
straight from the victim's mouth.
Why don't we listen to women?
I do not know. We should. Why don't we listen to the victim of the crime stating, I did not know the shooter. She had gray hair and wore a rose in her hair and was dressed in black. That does not fit Mrs. Goodbody's description. It was someone I don't know. Why is that not believed?
Yeah.
Like, she might have just been saying, Mrs. Goodbody, like, hi, my daughter, is she okay? Like, she might have been wondering if her daughter was okay. She was shot.
I bet that's it.
Like, you know, how when Mom refers to me, she calls me Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith.
Oh, she does?
No. That's the only weird part, is that it's a Goodbody. Like, that. I don't know the daughter's first name. I probably could find it, but I didn't even try. Also, okay, she did not know the person. She also said that she thought the woman was firing blanks, which I told you earlier, and that the shooter said, I will get you yet. As though it was like some sort of revenge plan, some sort of like, I didn't get you this time, but I will. Like, foiled, but I'll get you.
Almost like a comic, like, Inspector Gadget. Where
yes.
the evil guy's always like, next time,
I'll get
Gadget.
you next time, Gadget.
Oh, yeah, yes. Witnesses had reported seeing a mysterious woman dressed in black with something red in her hair fleeing the scene. So why Lieutenant Quinn was so set on this when there were several witnesses saying they saw the woman, the victim herself said, I did not know my shooter, and it was this woman wearing black with something red in her hair. It wasn't, someone I didn't know. It was eventually determined that there was, in fact, a third party in the room, the mysterious woman in black. Mrs. Goodbody was never charged with her mother's murder, but she was rightfully pretty mad about having her reputation dragged through the mud.
Oh, thank goodness his stupid theory didn't go through. Jeez, dude.
Seriously.
When everyone is telling you you're wrong.
He's like, no, but I had a thought, I had a feeling, and I think I'm right. I'm going to stick with my initial gut. Ugh. I just so many crimes that were detectives just are like, I just knew. Really? Based on what evidence? It was just a feeling I had.
And then it's like, really? Because all of the evidence suggests something else.
No, I'm not paying attention to that evidence. I've already decided what's happening. Okay, so this is twist 6. The weapon was a major clue. And here's something interesting. At this time, newspapers were still spelling the word clue, C-L-E-W.
Oh, weird.
A major clue. Clue. Yeah, isn't that funny?
That's another twist.
It's like I think standardized spelling had happened, but it was still kind of working its way. So anyways, I say next time you want to write the word clue, write it how you want.
Yeah, follow your heart.
Yeah.
Blue, BLEW. Oh, but actually, you can't spell blue. Okay, moving on. Okay.
And we're in the Windy City.
Okay, so the murder weapon itself became the very best piece of evidence in this case. The serial number on this antique pistol was traced to a man named Walter Brown. And Walter Brown admitted that it was his because he stole it from a holdup that he did. He was the perpetrator of a holdup in 1939. But he swears he turned it over to the police. Brown, however, was not a suspect in this crime because he was in jail when this crime was committed for murder. He was serving life for murder. But Brown claimed the gun had been in police custody for at least 5 years. And the officer that he had given it to did admit that Brown had given him lots of weapons. Like, he was like, yeah, Brown has given me several pistols. Just, I don't think he gave me this one.
He's like patting himself and pulling out more.
He's like, yeah, I've had this one for...
Hand him over. Got my sock gun, my garter gun.
It also said that this cop, that this officer and Brown, the guy in life for prison for murder, were like best friends. They were like best little criminal, like buddies. Like, we got our cop and our criminal, and they're just the best of friends.
That's cute.
But Brown was in prison for murder for life. There was no way he committed the murder. And the funny thing is that because it was a stolen gun, the only way that the serial number traced it back to Brown is he claimed it was the gun he stole. They were like, we don't have any other way to trace it to you, but somehow I don't quite know how it works. Like, I can't quite piece it together in my mind, like how the serial number led to him when it wasn't registered to him because he stole it. It's a little confusing.
Well, after he stole it, he must have registered it in his name.
Maybe. Or maybe he just heard the serial number. They're like, anyone know this serial number? 87655543292.
He just happened to be listening to the radio that day.
Yeah, I recognize. I mean, I have no idea how long serial numbers are.
No, but I mean, is it possible, though, that they recorded the serial numbers when he passed all of his guns along, when he handed over all of his guns? That would be my assumption.
That's possible, but then they all claim that he never, even his best friend cop claimed that although Brown had given him several guns, that was never one of them. And Brown was like, but I swear I turned it over to Officer what's-his-name, and it's been in police custody for at least 5 years. Now,
who do we believe?
Twist number 7. Get ready for this. You thought that all these twists and turns, like, it gets better. Because there was another connection. It was discovered that Brown had also given a pistol to his sister. And his sister had used it in a holdup for which she was currently serving probation because they didn't put her in jail. She had tried to hold someone up with a gun that she borrowed from her brother, and she had rope and like tape and all this stuff to commit this heinous crime and to steal jewels from someone, but she wasn't successful. So instead of putting her in jail, they just gave her probation. And she was currently working as a front desk clerk at
a fish and ale house?
The Drake.
No.
The Drake Hotel. At the Drake Hotel. She was working as a front desk clerk at the Drake Hotel.
Question.
Yes.
Does she wear a rose in her hair?
She had red hair. So here's the thing. She had red hair. The killer had gray hair, but it was reported that it might have been a wig.
Oh, so maybe some of her red hair was poking out that they thought was a rose.
It was a red hair ring.
I forgot about wigs.
I know. Especially, how could you forget about wigs? You wear them so often. All right. So our new suspect is Ellen Bennett. And here's the interesting thing. Our guy, Walter Brown, he didn't just have one sister working at the Drake Hotel. He had 2 sisters working at the Drake Hotel. There was Ellen Bennett and then their sister Anna, whom the Chicago Tribune described as a hotel prowler. We do not get any other information on Anna.
What does that even mean?
It just means that she, I feel like it means she prowled the hotel.
I guess it's
Hotel
self-explanatory.
Maybe is she like Was she a sex worker? Was she a lady of the night?
I do wonder if she was a sex worker because we do know that she worked in a similar profession earlier, and I will get to that. So I'm going to tell you about Ellen Valanus Bennett Larksworthy Welch, whose alias was Ellen Murphy, but in the press went by Ellen Bennett. Let me tell you, she had a very
not confusing at all.
but really great for like her whole name, Ellen Valanus Bennett Larksworthy Welch. That's her full name.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But Ellen Bennett in the press, and that's how I will refer to her. She had a very colored past. She dropped out of school in the 6th grade. And then at 15 years old, she married a 57-year-old gross old man named Acott Bennett. And that's where she gets the Bennett from.
No one should be allowed to drop out in 6th grade.
No, yeah, it was different times, but yes, I agree. And also, no one should
And
be
even
allowed to
more
marry
so-
a 57-year-old gross old man. Which, by the way,
Yes.
gross old man, I added that. The papers just said 57-year-old man, but yeah, gross old man, 57,
That is the most egregious part.
named Acott Bennett. Reportedly, she had one son with Acott, but no trace of him can be found. It is thought that he went into the Marines and that he was a Marine, but she and Mr. Bennett actually divorced after 6 months. So I don't even think Mr. Bennett was around when she had the son, and I don't know what happened to him. There's no trace. And Ellen ended up enrolling after this into Northwestern University. I'm sorry, enrolling into Northwestern University using a friend's high school diploma. Because remember, she dropped out in 6th grade. You had to have a high school diploma to get into college. So her early crimes started with identity theft. Then in 1939, she borrowed a gun from her brother. I've already told you briefly about this crime. And along with some rope and some tape, she attempted to hold up a woman. She wore a disguise of a blonde wig over her red hair, but the woman could tell she was wearing a blonde wig because the red hair was sticking out. And also, during this holdup, she was driving a car. This was the craziest part. She was driving a car owned by a senator. We don't know who the senator was.
Oh my God.
It does not say. It just says he was driving a car owned by a senator. And when she was caught, she told the police that her name was Peggy Ryan and that she worked as a nightclub entertainer. She did not serve prison. She got probation, and I wonder if it had anything to do with her friendship with said senator that she got such a light sentence. Because we know at this time, I mean, we know that the case, like Eva Dugan was, which I did in January, I covered her case. Like, she was put on trial for murder when there was no body and hung. Like, we know that people weren't necessarily light on crime in the United States just because they were women.
Mm-hmm.
So an attempted holdup with rope and a gun, wearing a disguise, and she gets probation. She knew some people.
Okay.
I think she had some power. So in 1941, she was living in Chicago, and she was now married to a new guy named Vere H. Larkworthy, whom she had met in Milwaukee, where she made a living as a barfly. I'm assuming this is kind of like a girl who hangs out in the bars to sort of entertain men. Like the bars would sort of pay pretty girls to sort of be there.
Like remember in the Alamo case?
Yes.
Susan Alamo, she was a B girl.
I think it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
She worked as a barfly, and she met this man named Vere Larkworthy. And her sister was there, who worked as a call girl. Remember her sister Anne, who was a hotel prowler?
Mm-hmm.
She had previous worked as a call girl. She used Vere Larkworthy's money to buy a ton of jewelry. So she married him, took all his money, she bought a ton of jewelry, she insured it, and then she reported it all stolen. It was so suspicious that the insurance company made her take a lie detector test, which I think she passed.
Oh, so she got the money?
Well, I think so. The most suspicious part of this is that her husband was murdered shortly after this. She was only married to Vere Larkworthy for a very short period of time. She took all his money, bought a bunch of jewelry with it, and then he was murdered. And his murder is unsolved. They do not know who did it.
Oh, no.
We don't know who. So Larkworthy, he was also an older man. Remember, she had already married one older guy. This was also an older guy. And he apparently told friends, this is his quote, "I came back from the races and I met Ellen at a hotel. We drank, and the next thing I remember, I was in Dubuque and married. And they had only been married a few weeks.
Dubuque?
Dubuque? Dubuque? Dubuque? Dubuque?
I don't know. Dubuque?
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 Oh, someone look it up.
Oh.
Dubuque.
Okay, I mean, we don't have to keep this in, but I tried to look up what is a hotel prowler, and it said it's someone who steals items from the rooms of guests at a hotel, and then it led me to a link from San Francisco or sfgate.com that a prowler in 2023 was breaking into hotel rooms and fondling women's feet.
I heard about this.
Yes, we should keep this in. Gross.
That's terrible.
Gross.
Gross.
I hate that.
Did you figure out how to pronounce Dubuque?
Dubuque.
Dubuque.
I was so close.
You were so close.
I said Dubuque, but Dubuque seems way more obvious. Okay, Dubuque. I came back from the races and met Ellen at a hotel. We drink, and the next thing I remember, I was in Dubuque and married. They had only been married a few weeks before Ellen left him, and she had already taken all his money or spent all his money, and his murder was never solved, which I already told you.
Ugh, jeez.
I think I know who did it.
I have my suspicions as well. She actually got married a third time, but ended up only living with the guy for just a few days. And I don't know anything else about her third marriage, other than in her very long name, it might be the very last word, which I tossed all the papers on the floor, and it would take me a while to sort through them.
Yeah, we can't.
So at the time of the murder committed by the woman in black, also known as the woman in black murder, Ellen was 41 years old. And she had secured a job working at the Drake Hotel as a desk clerk under the name Ellen Murphy. So she was able to live at the hotel with a boyfriend. And also her sister was there working as we know, hotel prowler, which apparently you steal stuff from rooms. And those that knew her described her as cold-blooded, with a real penchant for diamond and jewels, which Mrs. Williams had in abundance. However, if you remember, nothing was stolen from Mrs. Williams' hotel room. So was this because she missed the daughter when she was shooting and just kind of panicked and left? Or was it because she didn't have a chance to steal the jewels? And I don't know, because I'm not sure how the investigation took place, but she shot at the daughter, close ranged, missed her. The mother thought that the woman was firing blanks, but ends up getting hit in the head and died. Was it intended to be blanks and there was a rogue bullet? And did she just panic and thought she could hold the women up and take the jewels? And then she just panicked? Like, what happened?
Did she not expect the daughter to be there?
I
think that's
wonder
maybe likely.
if she did not. Emily, that is a really good question. I didn't think about
Because
that.
the daughter, if she was married, probably didn't live there with the mother and was probably there just like they'd probably gone out shopping and came back and the woman waiting didn't expect her to have a guest.
Yes, she probably thought she was going to be holding up a frail 68-year-old woman by herself with a gun and could just be like, I'm taking your jewels.
But she didn't know a good body was going to be there.
She did not know a good body was going to be good. A good body, God. But I also wonder, was the intention, was she caught in the act of stealing? Was she about to take jewels when the women were coming in, so she hid in the bathroom? Because why would she need to wait till they came home if she was able to get in and jewels were there?
Well, and if she's the desk clerk, she's going to see when a resident leaves.
So she would have
And she could have just had plenty of time.
She would have known, if she's the desk clerk, she would have known that Adele was gone.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And like, just go in and swipe everything, go back to your job.
Yeah. It's so strange to me because it seems like the obvious motive would be robbery, but nothing was stolen. So I do wonder if she was caught in the act. And Emily, that's a good point, that she wasn't expecting. First of all, she might not have been expecting Adele to come up to the room at all, but definitely wasn't expecting Mrs. Goodbody, her daughter.
Yeah, and she quite possibly, allegedly, has gotten away with murder already.
Possibly, yeah.
So,
I mean, I think the fact of having a gun with her points to being at least aware of the possibility that she could be found in the act.
Yeah. And the disguise.
Right.
and the police are like, this gun was not in our possession, and this woman's brother is saying,
So like, no, I
They've
gave
had
this to
it
you
for
guys.
5 years.
The police have had it. Well, remember the spare key and how it went missing? Well, Ellen would have had ample opportunity and access to that key, and it was her desk where it mysteriously reappeared at 10 p.m. upon her desk.
Jeez.
And you remember that mysterious phone call that was made to the Fish and Ale House 2 weeks before the phone call made from Mrs. Williams' room? Guess whose room it was made from?
Whose?
Ellen's. She lived in the hotel. Remember, Ellen lived in the hotel with her boyfriend, and they thought it was strange that another room had made a call to that Fish and Ale House. It was from her room.
Okay.
We don't know why. We don't know the connection, but perhaps the boyfriend she was living with worked there. Like, who knows? So there are a lot of things leading us to think that it might be Ellen Bennett. So when questioned, Ellen admitted to owning a black fur coat, but she did not own a gray wig. And she claims she had never been in Mrs. Williams' room. She said she couldn't recall whether she was in the hotel at the time of the murder or in a nearby restaurant. She voluntarily took several lie detector tests, which she passed. She passed them. But remember, people describe her as cold-blooded. So it could just be that we're dealing with a psychopath who can pass lie detector tests and who just knows how to hold her cool. Both Ellen and her sister were arrested 2 times in connection to the murder, but they could never make the charges stick. There simply was not enough evidence. Or, just like with the crime before where she just got put on probation and was driving a senator's car, did Ellen have powerful people in her pocket who came to her aid and made sure she didn't get charged with this murder? Did she have dirt on powerful people where they were like, yeah, she didn't do it. We're going to let this one go. I wonder.
Yeah.
So what became of Ellen is unknown. After this, after she was acquitted, or I don't even think she was ever formally charged with the murder, but after this all died down, she sort of just faded into oblivion. There's no record of what happened to her. But one thing is for sure, she was a woman with a lot of grit, whose priority was looking out for herself and seemed to have connections in powerful places. Also, the murder of Adele, born Williams, was never solved. The woman in black was never identified. And why it is not certain why Ellen Bennett was not charged with the murder, to me and to most people who look at this, she does seem like the most likely suspect. Perhaps she heard rumors of piles of cash that Mrs. Williams had. And perhaps she already knew from Adele walking in and out that she had jewels. We don't know what the motive might have been. But this is what's interesting. On the 8th floor, people have seen a specter, an apparition of a woman in black floating through the hallways. But if this is the case, then the 8th floor is haunted by the murderess, not the murderee. And that seems weird to me.
Me too.
I guess, what color was Miss Williams
No
wearing
one-
the day she was
No one
killed?
told me. I
Maybe
do not
she was
know.
wearing black too.
It's possible.
I mean, just because she had a Persian black lamb coat doesn't mean that she was the only person wearing black.
It is a very popular color.
It is a popular color.
It's just a really bold assumption.
Yeah.
Not from you, from the other people.
When you said Persian lamb coat, I thought you said Persian lamp coat, like with the LAMP. And I was like,
Lamb.
ooh, what? I was like, what is that? And I Googled it, and it was wrong.
Persian.
There's no such thing as a Persian lamp coat.
Persian lamb coat. So, anyways, that is it. That is the case of the haunting of the Drake Hotel. It's such a gorgeous hotel. And
my
the 2
gosh.
crazy cases, one which is for sure true, that happened there.
That was wild, Nettie.
It was fun. I can't wait to go back with my sisters, but I think we should stay in the Congress, the hotel of
Okay.
12,000 Ghosts. Yes. Which I don't know why I thought I'd be able to fit that one into, because I was originally planning on it, but no way. I think this was long enough. Haunted
You
Chicago.
did such a
though.
good job.
There's so many. You guys, you would not believe the creepiest stories. There's so many. We could spend a month there and not even touch on all of the crazy things that have happened. So let's do it.
Okay.
And you know why they call it the Windy City?
Ghosts?
Because the politicians are always blowing hot air.
Oh, but it's cold air.
Blowing air.
Okay, do it again and I won't correct the joke. I'll just react. Say, politicians.
Oh, I thought that was great.
Here, I'm going to do it like this. Haley, good one.
Oh, you. You're so full of surprises.
I feel like your response was appropriate because that's the
full
level
of
of funny that
surprises.
joke was.
The Windy City. It's, you guys, amazing. Loved it. Thanks for listening to this episode on the crazy haunting of the Drake Hotel and the Water Tower. So nuts.
Thanks for telling it. You did such a good job. That was really awesome, and I can't wait to go to Chicago.
Well, my dear sister, will you take us out of this episode and promise, both of you, promise right here and now in front of all these witnesses that you will go with me to Chicago and we will do a deep dive paranormal investigation and we will state the Congress.
Yes, yes, yes.
Promise?
Yes.
Emily? I need you to do more than nod. I need a verbal affirmation.
I declare I will. I declare it.
She declared it. All right, Haley.
She declared it. Thank you for listening. We are the Spooky Darlings. And if you want to find us on our socials, we are on TikTok and Instagram at the Spooky Darlings Podcast. And if you would like to tell us your Chicago story, please write in at thespookydarlings@gmail.com. And
Rate, review.
rate, review, subscribe.
We're going to start
whatever you
reading
want.
reviews on our FUFs, our
Yeah.
Follow Up Friday episodes.
And
So,
stay spooky.
Yeah, if you'd like your review read, just write one in. We'll read it. Yes, stay spooky.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
5 stars. Stay tuned for some bloopers and banter. It's hard to communicate with someone when every interaction, I'm doing something wrong. And she was like, oh.
Have you tried being less wrong, though?
I have not tried that.
And I won't.
Dang it.
Whoever
What'd you say?
rebellious.
I missed it.
I said, have you tried being less wrong, though?
I've talked to you guys about talking without me.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you got
I'm sorry.
You've got to announce it. You got to announce it when you take your headphones off.
I don't think you realized how long the cord is on your headphones. You can go a very far distance. You don't need to remove them. Okay, let's get back to this.
Okay, clap.
Yes, real quick clap. I'll clap 3 times. On the count of 3, we will clap 3 times. And a 1, 2, 3, and a clap, clap, clap. How much Emily's panic eyes. Oh, she's doing it. And a 1, 2, 3, and a. Okay. All right.
Luckily, we won't have to line up those claps.
Before we disappear into the shadows, don't forget, we're still sending out vinyl stickers. Leave us a rating and review and email us proof to thespookydarlings@gmail.com, along with your mailing address, and we'll send you some spooky snail mail while supplies last. And if your heart is still mourning that tote bag, may we gently tempt your way toward our merch store at thespookydarlings.printful.me. Treat yourself. You deserve it. Thanks for listening. And as always, stay spooky.